The fun they had. Margie even wrote about it that night in her diary. On the page headed 17th May 2157, she wrote, "Today Tommy found a real book." It was a very old book. Margie's grandfather once said that when he was a little boy his grandfather told him that there was a time when all stories were printed on paper. They turned the pages, which were yellow and crinkly, and it was awfully funny to read words that stood still instead of moving the way they were supposed to on a screen, you know. And then when they turned back to the page before, it had the same words on it that it had had when they read it the first time. 1G, said Tommy, what a waste. When you're through with the book, you just throw it away, I guess. Our television screen must have had a million books on it, and it's good for plenty more. I wouldn't throw it away. Same with mine, said Margie. She was 11 and hadn't seen as many telly books as Tommy had. He was 13. She said, where did you find it? In my house. He pointed without looking because he was busy reading. In the attic. What's it about? School. To Margie was scornful. School? What's there to write about school? I hate school. Margie always hated school, but now she hated it more than ever. The mechanical teacher had been giving her test after test in geography, and she had been doing worse and worse until her mother had shaken her head sorrowfully and sent for the county inspector. 3. He was a round little man with a red face and a whole box of tools with dials and wires. He smiled at Margie and gave her an apple, then took the teacher apart. Margie had hoped he wouldn't know how to put it together again, but he knew how all right, and after an hour or so, there it was again, large and black and ugly, with a big screen on which all the lessons were shown and the questions were asked. That wasn't so bad. The part Margie hated most was the slot where she had to put homework and test papers. She always had to write them out in a punch code they made her learn when she was 6 years old, and the mechanical teacher calculated the marks in no time. 4. The inspector had smiled after he was finished and patted Margie's head. He said to her mother, "It's not the little girl's fault, Mrs. Jones. I think the geography sector was geared a little too quick. Those things happen sometimes. I've slowed it up to an average tenure level." Actually, the overall pattern of her progress is quite satisfactory. And he patted Margie's head again. Margie was disappointed. She had been hoping they would take the teacher away altogether. They had once taken Tommy's teacher away for nearly a month because the history sector had blanked out completely. So, she said to Tommy, "Why would anyone write about school?" 5. Tommy looked at her with very superior eyes. Because it's not our kind of school, stupid. This is the old kind of school that they had hundreds and hundreds of years ago. He added loftily, pronouncing the word carefully, centuries ago. Margie was hurt. Well, I don't know what kind of school they had all that time ago. She read the book over his shoulder for a while, then said, wait. Sure, they had a teacher, but it wasn't a regular teacher. It was a man. A man. How could a man be a teacher? Well, he just told the boys and girls things, and gave them homework, and asked them questions. 6. A man isn't smart enough. Sure he is. My father knows as much as my teacher. He knows almost as much, I betcha. Margie wasn't prepared to dispute that. She said, I wouldn't want a strange man in my house to teach me. Tommy screamed with laughter. You don't know much, Margie. The teachers didn't live in the house. They had a special building and all the kids went there. And all the kids learned the same thing. They were the same age. 7. But my mother says a teacher has to be adjusted to fit the mind of each boy and girl it teaches, and that each kid has to be taught differently. Just the same, they didn't do it that way then. If you don't like it, you don't have to read the book. I didn't say I didn't like it, Margie said quickly. She wanted to read about those funny schools. They weren't even half finished when Margie's mother called. Margie. School. Margie looked up. Not yet, Mama. Now, said Mrs. Jones. And it's probably time for Tommy, too. Margie said to Tommy, can I read the book some more with you after school? 8, maybe, he said nonchalantly. He walked away whistling, the dusty old book beneath his chin. 9. Margie did so with a sigh. She was thinking about the old schools they had when her grandfather's grandfather was a little boy. All the kids from the whole neighborhood came, laughing and shouting in the schoolyard, sitting together in the schoolroom, going home together at the end of the day. They learned the same things, so they could help one another with the homework and talk about it. And the teachers were people. The mechanical teacher was flashing on the screen when we add fractions a half and a quarter. Margie was thinking about how the kids must have loved it in the old days. She was thinking about the fun they had. Word explanation. Times old indicates the age of the book discovered by Margie and Tommy, highlighting its antiquity in contrast to their futuristic world. Times mechanical describes the nature of the teacher in the story, emphasizing its robotic and automated characteristics. Times little refers to Margie's age, portraying her as a young protagonist in the narrative. Times school represents the central theme of education in the story, both in its traditional and futuristic forms. Times contrasting suggests the differences between the old-fashioned school depicted in the book and the mechanized education system of Margie's time. Times intrigued reflects Margie's curiosity and interest in exploring the contents of the book, driving the plot forward. Times lost conveys Margie's sense of nostalgia and longing for the communal aspects of traditional schooling. Times personal indicates the individualized and humanized approach to education missing in the mechanical teacher. Times Sterile describes the impersonal and clinical environment of Margie's education system, devoid of warmth and human connection. Times Communal, relating to or involving a community or group of people. In the context of the story, it refers to the shared experience and interaction among students in traditional schooling. Times Personal, pertaining to an individual's private or intimate affairs. It implies a direct connection between the subject and the person involved, emphasizing individualized attention and care. Times Lost, feeling a sense of confusion, disorientation, or emotional distress due to being separated from something valued or familiar. In the story, it reflects Margie's longing for the lost aspects of traditional education, such as camaraderie and human interaction. Times Human, relating to or characteristic of humans, emphasizing qualities such as empathy, compassion, and emotional depth. It contrasts with the mechanized and robotic nature of the education system portrayed in the story. Times Traditional, conforming to established customs, beliefs, or practices that have been passed down through generations. In the story, it refers to the conventional methods of education used in the past, contrasting with the futuristic approach. Times Solitary, involving or characterized by being alone or isolated from others. It highlights the lack of social interaction and companionship experienced by Margie within the automated education system. Times Impersonal, lacking personal connection or individualized attention, often characterized by a cold or detached demeanor. It describes the mechanical teacher's approach to education in the story, devoid of warmth or empathy. Times Reflecting, involving deep thought, contemplation, or consideration of past experiences or events. It suggests a process of introspection or self-examination. Times Joy, a feeling of great happiness or delight. It represents the positive emotional state experienced by Margie when reflecting on the communal aspects of traditional schooling. Times Learning, the acquisition of knowledge or skills through study, experience, or teaching. It encompasses the process of acquiring new information and understanding. Times Automated, operated by machines or technology with little or no human intervention. In the story, it refers to the mechanized education system controlled by computers and robotic teachers. Times Real, genuine or authentic, existing or occurring as fact or reality. It contrasts with the simulated or virtual experiences presented in the futuristic setting of the story. Times Intrigued, arousing curiosity or interest, prompting a desire to know more. It describes Margie's fascination with the old-fashioned book and its contents. Times Future, the period of time that is yet to come beyond the present moment. It refers to the temporal setting of the story, depicting a speculative vision of what the future of education might look like. Times Unlike, dissimilar or different from, not similar to something else. It highlights the differences between the traditional schooling depicted in the book and the automated education system experienced by Margie. Times Current, existing or occurring at the present time, contemporary. It denotes the ongoing state or condition of affairs within the story's setting. Times Longing, a strong, persistent desire or craving for something that is absent or lost. It conveys Margie's deep yearning for the communal aspects of traditional schooling that are missing from her current educational experience. Times contrasting, highlighting the differences between two or more things by showing how they are different from each other. It emphasizes the juxtaposition between traditional and futuristic education systems in the story. Times allure, the quality of being powerfully attractive or fascinating. It describes the captivating and irresistible nature of the old-fashioned book to Margie and Tommy. Times exploring, engaging in a systematic process of investigation or discovery, often involving curiosity or a desire for knowledge. It suggests an active pursuit of understanding or uncovering new information or experiences. Times effective, producing the desired or intended result, successful in achieving the desired outcome. It denotes the ability to accomplish a specific purpose or goal, often with efficiency and proficiency. Times questioning, the act of raising inquiries, doubts, or uncertainties about something. It involves a critical examination or interrogation of ideas, beliefs, or practices, often to seek clarification or deeper understanding. Times intrigued, feeling curious or interested about something, often prompting a desire to learn more or explore further. In the context of the story, Margie and Tommy are intrigued by the discovery of the old-fashioned book, sparking their curiosity about its contents and the world it represents. Times contrasting, highlighting differences between two or more things by emphasizing how they are dissimilar from each other. In the story, the contrasting nature of traditional schooling and the mechanized education system serves to underscore the differences in approach, values, and experiences. Times communal, relating to or involving a shared community or group, emphasizing the sense of togetherness and collective participation. Margie longs for the communal aspects of traditional schooling, such as interacting with peers, sharing experiences, and learning together as a group. Times lost, feeling a sense of confusion, disorientation, or emotional distress due to being separated from something valued or familiar. Margie experiences a sense of loss for the communal and personal aspects of traditional schooling that are absent in the mechanized education system of her time. Times human, relating to or characteristic of human beings, emphasizing qualities such as empathy, emotion, and individuality. Margie yearns for the human connection and personal interaction that is lacking in her education experience dominated by machines and technology. Times solitary, involving or characterized by being alone or isolated from others, lacking companionship or social interaction. Margie's education experience is portrayed as solitary and isolated, devoid of the communal and interpersonal connections found in traditional schooling. Times impersonal, lacking personal connection or individualized attention, often characterized by a cold or detached demeanor. Margie's interactions with the mechanical teacher and the automated education system are depicted as impersonal and devoid of warmth or empathy. Times longing, a strong, persistent desire or yearning for something that is absent or lost, often accompanied by feelings of nostalgia or sadness. Margie experiences a deep longing for the community. the communal and personal aspects of traditional schooling, which she feels are missing in her current education experience. Question answer. Where did Tommy find the old book? In the attic of his house. What was Margie's initial reaction to the book? Margie was intrigued and asked Tommy about it, expressing curiosity. What did Margie's grandfather say about books? He mentioned that in the past, stories were printed on paper, and people read words that stood still instead of moving on a screen. What did Tommy think about the old book? Tommy considered it a waste compared to the endless books available on their television screen. How did Margie feel about school? Margie hated school, especially after struggling with tests from the mechanical teacher. What happened when Margie's mechanical teacher failed? The county inspector visited and adjusted the teacher's speed, providing reassurance to Margie's mother about her progress. What did Margie hope would happen to her mechanical teacher? Margie hoped they would take it away, like they did with Tommy's teacher when it malfunctioned. How did Margie and Tommy feel about the book Tommy found? Margie was intrigued and wanted to know more, while Tommy felt it was outdated and irrelevant. What did Tommy say about the old kind of school? Tommy explained that it was different from their current system, with a human teacher and all children learning together in a building. How did Margie react to the idea of a human teacher? Margie was hesitant and didn't want a stranger in her house teaching her. What did Tommy say about his father compared to his teacher? Tommy claimed that his father knew almost as much as his teacher, implying that humans could be as knowledgeable as machines. How did Margie feel about the communal aspects of traditional schooling? Margie longed for the communal experiences of traditional schools, where children learned together and helped each other with homework. What did Margie think about the mechanical teacher's homework slot? Margie disliked the punch code homework system and the impersonal nature of submitting assignments to a machine. What did Margie's mother say about learning at regular hours? Margie's mother believed that learning at regular hours was beneficial for children, as it helped them focus and establish a routine. How did Margie feel about learning at regular hours? Margie seemed indifferent, as she didn't express strong feelings about the concept. What was the mechanical teacher teaching when Margie was reflecting on old schools? The mechanical teacher was teaching arithmetic, specifically adding fractions, while Margie was lost in thoughts about traditional schools. What did Margie's reflections about old schools focus on? Margie's reflections focused on the communal aspects of traditional schooling, such as children learning together, playing, and going home together. What did Margie and Tommy's conversation with Margie's mother interrupt? Margie and Tommy's conversation about the old book was interrupted by Margie's mother calling them to start their lessons. How did Tommy respond to Margie's request to read the book after school? Tommy responded nonchalantly, indicating he might consider it but didn't commit to anything definite. What was Margie's immediate task upon entering the schoolroom? Margie had to insert her homework from the previous day into the mechanical teacher's slot. What thoughts occupied Margie's mind while doing her homework? Margie's thoughts drifted to the old-fashioned schools and the joy children must have experienced in that setting. How did Margie feel about the old-fashioned book compared to her current lessons? Margie found the old-fashioned book more appealing than her current lessons with the mechanical teacher. What emotions did Margie experience while doing her homework? Margie experienced a sense of longing and nostalgia for the communal and personal aspects of traditional schooling. What was the mechanical teacher's lesson about while Margie was reminiscing about old schools? The mechanical teacher was teaching about adding fractions, but Margie was lost in thoughts about traditional schooling. How did Margie feel about the mechanical teacher's lesson while reflecting on old schools? Margie felt indifferent towards the lesson, as her mind was preoccupied with thoughts of traditional schooling. What did Margie wish for while reflecting on old schools? Margie wished for the communal experiences and personal interactions of traditional schooling, which were absent in her current education. How did Margie feel about her current education compared to old schools? Margie felt dissatisfied with her current education system and longed for the warmth, camaraderie, and personal touch of traditional schooling. What did Margie and Tommy hope to do after school? Margie and Tommy hoped to continue reading the old-fashioned book together after completing their lessons. How did Margie and Tommy feel about traditional schooling? Margie and Tommy admired the communal and personal aspects of traditional schooling and contrasted them with their current education system. What did Margie long for during her homework? Margie longed for the communal and personal interactions of traditional schooling while doing her homework with the mechanical teacher. What was Margie's response to her mother calling her to start her lessons? Margie reluctantly acknowledged her mother's call, expressing a desire to continue reading the old-fashioned book later with Tommy. Highlighted part explanation. Today Tommy found a real book. Margie's diary entry. This marks the beginning of the story, indicating Tommy's discovery of an old-fashioned book, which is a rarity in their futuristic world where education is predominantly digital. Margie's excitement and the emphasis on real book foreshadow the significance of this discovery. "Gee," said Tommy, "what a waste. When you're through with the book, you just throw it away, I guess." Tommy's dismissive attitude towards the book reflects the mindset of their time, where digital resources are abundant and physical books are considered obsolete and disposable. This highlights the contrast between the futuristic society's values and the antiquated item Tommy found. School. What's there to write about school? I hate school. Margie's response to Tommy's mention of the book's topic. Margie's disdain for school underscores her dissatisfaction with the education system. Her negative perception reflects the impersonal and mechanical nature of education in their time, contributing to her curiosity about the old-fashioned school depicted in the book. It wasn't a regular teacher. It was a man. Tommy explaining the old-fashioned school system to Margie. Tommy's revelation about the traditional school system, where human teachers were employed, contrasts sharply with Margie's experience with the mechanical teacher. This highlights the impersonal and automated nature of education in their futuristic society, emphasizing the human touch missing from Margie's education. My father knows as much as my teacher. My father says a teacher has to be adjusted to fit the mind of each boy and girl it teaches, and that each kid has to be taught differently. Tommy comparing his father to the teacher. Tommy's comparison between his father and the mechanical teacher underscores the inadequacies of the standardized education system. It highlights the importance of personalized learning and individualized instruction, which are lacking in their current educational setup. Margie was disappointed. She had been hoping they would take the teacher away altogether. Margie's disappointment reflects her dissatisfaction with the mechanical teacher and the education system as a whole. Her desire for the teacher's removal underscores her longing for a more engaging and personalized learning experience, devoid of the constraints imposed by technology. Can I read the book some more with you after school? Margie's request to Tommy. Margie's eagerness to explore the book further demonstrates her growing fascination with the old-fashioned school depicted in its pages. Her desire to read with Tommy symbolizes a longing for companionship and shared experiences, contrasting with the solitary nature of her current education. Today's arithmetic lesson is on the addition of proper fractions. Mechanical teacher's prompt. The mechanical teacher's lesson on arithmetic serves as a stark contrast to Margie's reflections on traditional schooling. It highlights the sterile and impersonal nature of education in their futuristic society, devoid of the communal and personal interactions prevalent in traditional schools. Margie was thinking about the old schools they had when her grandfather's grandfather was a little boy. Margie's thoughts about old schools evoke a sense of nostalgia and longing for a bygone era. Her reflections underscore the loss of communal and personal connections in their current education system, prompting her to yearn for the warmth and camaraderie of traditional schooling. Grammar, sentence structure and example. Simple sentence. Today Tommy found a real book. Margie's diary entry. Compound sentence. Margie was 11 and hadn't seen as many telly books as Tommy had. Complex sentence. She said, "Where did you find it?" Compound complex sentence. Margie looked up. "Not yet, now," said Mrs. Jones. "And it's probably time for Tommy, too." Margie said to Tommy, "Can I read the book some more with you after school?" Interrogative sentence. Where did you find it? Margie's question to Tommy. Exclamatory sentence. "Gee," said Tommy, "what a waste." Declarative sentence. Margie wasn't prepared to dispute that. Imperative sentence. Insert yesterday's homework in the proper slot. Instruction from the mechanical teacher. Inversion question. Can I read the book some more with you after school? Margie's inverted question. Ellipsis, omission of words. In the attic of his house. Omission of he found the book in the attic of his house. Conjunctions, joining words or phrases. He smiled at Margie and gave her an apple, then took the teacher apart. Use of and then to join actions. Quotation marks, direct speech. Today Tommy found a real book.